In a world gripped by financial uncertainty, a shadow looms over our collective future. Global debt, the invisible chain binding nations, has surged to heights never before seen, threatening to pull the very ground from under the global economy. As nations grapple with mountains of debt amassed over decades, the specter of economic collapse hangs over us, posing a question no one wants to answer. What happens when the bill comes due? As we stand at the brink, looking into the abyss of potential economic ruin, it's crucial to understand how we got here, the risks we face, and the paths we can take to avert disaster. Today, we dive deep into the heart of the global debt crisis, exploring its far-reaching impacts and the critical choices ahead of us. You're on the GeoLand channel, and in this episode, we're unpacking the complexities of the global debt crisis. From its origins to its potential impact on economies around the world, including right here at home, we'll explore the intricacies of a financial dilemma decades in the making. So stay with us as we uncover the realities of global debt and what it means for the future of our economy. Unraveling the mystery of global debt. Before we can tackle the towering inferno that is the global debt crisis, we need to start at the foundation. What exactly is global debt, and why does it matter to you and me? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but at its core, global debt is the sum of all money borrowed by governments, businesses, and individuals worldwide. It's like a giant, complex web that connects countries and economies in ways that can be hard to see, but easy to feel, especially when things start to unravel. So, how do countries end up borrowing so much money? Well, governments, like households, have expenses, building roads, providing education, and protecting the country, to name a few. But unlike households, when governments spend more than they bring in from taxes, they need to borrow money to cover the difference. This borrowing is done through issuing bonds, which is essentially asking investors to lend them money with the promise of paying it back with interest. You might wonder, who would lend money to a country? The answer: a lot of people and institutions. From pension funds looking for a safe investment to other countries wanting to park their money somewhere secure, government bonds are a popular choice. But here's the kicker. Just like with personal debt, too much borrowing can lead to trouble. Interest payments on the debt can eat up a significant portion of a government's budget, leaving less money for everything else. This brings us to the heart of the matter. Why should you care? When governments are overburdened by debt, it can lead to higher taxes, cuts in public services, and even economic instability that can affect job markets, interest rates, and the overall health of the economy. For the average person, this means everything from your job security to your savings account can be impacted by how well or poorly governments manage their debt. But global debt isn't just a numbers game. It's a reflection of the choices governments make and the economic challenges they face. From the aftermath of the financial crisis to the recent pandemic, various factors have pushed global debt to record levels. Understanding these dynamics is crucial, as they shape the economic landscape we all navigate. In the next section, we'll delve into how this global phenomenon specifically impacts the American economy and, by extension, your wallet. Stay tuned as we unpack the intricate dance of global debt and its far-reaching effects. How world debt affects your wallet. Turning our gaze closer to home, let's explore how the towering wave of global debt crashes against the shores of the American economy. It's a connection that might not be immediately obvious, but the ripples from this global phenomenon have a profound impact on the economic landscape here in the United States, touching everything from the interest rates on your mortgage to the stability of your job. First off, the United States is not just a participant in the global debt arena. It's one of the leading players, holding a significant portion of the world's debt. This position influences the country's financial health and has ripple effects on the global economy. But how exactly does global debt affect the American economy? One key area is interest rates. The Federal Reserve, which sets the benchmark interest rates in the U.S., watches global debt levels closely. High levels of debt worldwide can lead to lower interest rates in an effort to stimulate economic growth. While this might sound like good news for borrowers, it's a double-edged sword. Low interest rates can discourage savings, lead to overinvestment in risky assets, and inflate asset bubbles that can burst with devastating effects. Inflation is another concern. Excessive borrowing can lead to higher inflation rates, reducing the purchasing power of the dollar. This means your money buys less, affecting everything from your grocery bills to the cost of filling up your car. Moreover, global debt levels can influence the value of the dollar on the international stage. A strong dollar can make American goods more expensive abroad, impacting exporters and potentially leading to trade imbalances. On the flip side, a weaker dollar, while beneficial for exporters, can increase the cost of imported goods, contributing to inflation. But perhaps the most immediate impact of global debt on the American economy is its effect on job security and growth. Economic instability fueled by high debt levels can lead to reduced consumer spending, cautious corporate investment, and ultimately, slower job growth or even job losses. This instability can turn into a vicious cycle where economic uncertainty leads to more debt, which in turn leads to more uncertainty. In this interconnected world, the debt of one nation can indeed become the problem of another, especially when economies as large as the United States are involved. The choices made by foreign governments and international financial institutions can have a direct impact on American soil, affecting our economic policies, investment strategies, and even our day-to-day financial decisions. As we navigate through these turbulent financial waters, it's crucial to understand that the global debt crisis is not just a story about numbers on a balance sheet. It's about the economic well-being of nations and the financial security of individuals. In our next segment, we'll dive deeper into the causes behind the surge in global debt and what it means for the future of the global economy.
The startling truth behind soaring global debt. As we peel back the layers of the global debt crisis, it becomes crucial to understand the root causes behind the soaring figures that alarm economists and policymakers alike. The journey into the depths of global debt is not just about tracing the numbers. It's about uncovering the decisions, events, and policies that have led us to this critical juncture. The story of global debt's meteoric rise begins with the economic strategies countries have employed to fuel growth and navigate through financial downturns. At the heart of these strategies often lies government borrowing, seen as a quick fix to stimulate economies during times of trouble. But what starts as a temporary measure can quickly become a long-term habit, leading to accumulated debt that casts a long shadow over future generations. One of the pivotal moments in recent history that accelerated global borrowing was the 2008 financial crisis. In response to the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, countries around the world turned to massive borrowing to bail out banks, stimulate demand, and prevent economic collapse. These emergency measures, while necessary at the time, added layers to the already growing pile of global debt. Fast forward to the present, and the pandemic has added fuel to the fire. The unprecedented global health crisis forced governments to borrow even more heavily to support their economies, fund healthcare responses, and assist citizens facing unemployment and financial hardship. The result? Global debt levels reaching new heights, with future repayment obligations looming large over nations already struggling to balance their books. But it's not just crises that contribute to rising debt levels. Structural issues within economies, such as aging populations in developed countries, add pressure on governments to spend more on healthcare and pensions, often financed by borrowing. Meanwhile, the allure of investing in infrastructure, education, and technology to drive future growth tempts nations to take on debt, betting on the promise of returns that may not materialize as expected. The end of crisis-driven borrowing and structural spending has created a precarious situation where global debt continues to climb, leaving economists to wonder, where is the tipping point? The consequences of such high debt levels are multifaceted, affecting everything from national interest rates to global financial stability. The risk of default, though often seen as a problem for individual countries, can have cascading effects, shaking investor confidence and potentially triggering financial crises that cross borders. Understanding these root causes is not just an academic exercise. It's essential for crafting policies that address not only the symptoms of the global debt crisis, but its underlying drivers. As we move forward, the challenge lies in balancing the need for economic growth with the imperative of fiscal responsibility, ensuring that the steps we take today do not become the burdens of tomorrow. In the next section, we'll explore the potential risks and consequences of soaring global debt, shedding light on why this issue deserves our attention and action.
The terrifying consequences of ignoring global debt. With the backdrop of ever-increasing global debt, it's crucial to confront the potential risks and consequences that this financial behemoth poses. Understanding these risks is not about painting a doomsday scenario, but about recognizing the tightrope that the world economy walks on, teetering between sustainable growth and financial turmoil. The first and perhaps most immediate risk of high global debt is the specter of default. When countries are unable to meet their debt obligations, the fallout can extend far beyond their borders. A default can trigger a loss of investor confidence not just in the defaulting country, but in global markets as a whole, leading to increased borrowing costs for other nations as investors seek higher returns for perceived risks. This domino effect can exacerbate the financial instability, making it harder for even financially sound countries to access the capital they need. But the consequences of soaring debt are not limited to the risk of default. High levels of public debt can also lead to austerity measures as governments attempt to balance their books. These measures, which often include cuts to public services and increases in taxes, can stifle economic growth and lead to social unrest, as seen in various countries over the past decade. For the average citizen, this means not only a reduction in public services, but also a potential increase in the cost of living, as governments seek additional revenue streams to service their debts. Another significant risk is the crowding out effect, where high government borrowing absorbs the majority of available capital, leaving less for private investment. This can lead to slower economic growth, as businesses find it more challenging to access the funds needed for expansion and innovation. In a global economy increasingly reliant on technological advancement and entrepreneurship, this stifling of private sector growth could have long-term implications for global competitiveness and prosperity. Central banks and monetary policy also play a pivotal role. While low interest rates have made borrowing more attractive, central banks must carefully manage these rates to avoid fueling debt accumulation while still supporting economic growth. This delicate balancing act requires vigilance and a willingness to adjust policies as economic conditions change. Finally, international cooperation is paramount. Global debt is a worldwide concern that requires a coordinated response. International financial institutions, along with creditor and debtor nations, must work together to address systemic risks, assist countries in distress, and develop frameworks for sustainable borrowing and lending practices. As we consider these solutions and preventive measures, it's clear that there is no one-size-fits-all answer to the global debt crisis. Each country's situation is unique, and solutions must be tailored to fit specific economic, social, and political contexts. However, the common thread in all these approaches is the recognition that proactive and prudent fiscal management is essential for long-term economic health and stability. In conclusion, while the path to resolving the global debt crisis is fraught with challenges, it is not insurmountable. Through concerted effort, sound policy decisions, and international cooperation, we can navigate towards a future where debt serves as a tool for economic development rather than a trigger for crisis. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the complexities of global debt. Together, we can foster a more informed dialogue on fiscal responsibility and economic resilience. Bold moves to tackle the global debt avalanche. As we've navigated the complex terrain of the global debt crisis, understanding its roots and reckoning with its potential to disrupt economies worldwide, we arrive at a crucial juncture. exploring solutions and preventive measures. Addressing this towering debt is not just about averting crisis. It's about setting a sustainable course for future generations, ensuring that the economic systems we rely on are robust and resilient. The first step towards addressing global debt is acknowledging the need for fiscal responsibility across the board. Governments must prioritize efficient spending, focusing on investments that promote long-term growth over short-term gains. This involves tough decisions, including reassessing welfare programs, defense spending, and subsidies to ensure that they're not only necessary, but also efficient and effective. Debt restructuring presents another avenue for relief, especially for countries burdened by unsustainable debt levels. Through negotiations with creditors to extend loan terms or reduce interest rates, countries can gain breathing room to stabilize their economies. In some cases, debt forgiveness might be necessary, particularly for the most indebted nations, to prevent a cycle of default and economic collapse. On the preventative side, establishing stricter fiscal rules can help. Implementing debt ceilings and balanced budget amendments can force governments to live within their means, reducing the risk of debt accumulation in the future. While these measures may be politically challenging, they are crucial for instilling fiscal discipline. Another solution lies in stimulating economic growth. By creating a conducive environment for business development, innovation, and trade, governments can increase their tax bases, reducing the need to borrow. This involves investing in education, infrastructure, and technology, as well as fostering a regulatory environment that supports entrepreneurship and business expansion. Perhaps one of the most insidious risks of high global debt is the pressure it puts on monetary policy. To manage debt levels, central banks may be tempted to keep interest rates artificially low, which can fuel asset bubbles in markets such as real estate and stocks. When these bubbles burst, they can lead to financial crises that wipe out wealth and savings, with devastating effects on the economy and individuals alike. Finally, the psychological impact of high debt levels cannot be underestimated. The knowledge that future generations will be saddled with today's debt can lead to a sense of fiscal pessimism, affecting consumer and business confidence. This, in turn, can dampen economic activity, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, where fears of economic stagnation lead to the very outcome they dread. As we navigated these potential risks and consequences, the path forward requires a delicate balance between leveraging debt for economic growth and ensuring fiscal sustainability. In our next and final section, we will explore the solutions and preventive measures that can be taken to address the global debt crisis, aiming to chart a course towards economic stability and resilience. How you can fuel the fight against global debt. As we wrap up our deep dive into the global debt crisis and the intricate paths we must navigate to address it, I want to take a moment to reflect on the role of channels like ours in fostering a deeper understanding of such complex issues. Geoland is committed to delivering exclusive content that cuts through the noise of mainstream media, often revealing truths that remain unspoken elsewhere. Our mission goes beyond mere reporting. We seek to empower our viewers with knowledge, offering perspectives that are not just informed but also invaluable in an era where the truth is often glossed over or ignored. In a world where voices like ours are increasingly sidelined, becoming an anonymous beacon of truth isn't just a choice, it's a necessity. Our anonymity ensures that we can share insights without fear, diving into topics that others shy away from. But to continue this mission, we rely on the support of viewers like you. Every share, every comment, and every new subscriber not only helps our channel grow, but also strengthens our ability to bring you even more content that matters. So if you've found value in our exploration of the global debt crisis, or if you're simply a seeker of truths in a sea of content designed to conform, I encourage you to take action. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Engage with us in the comments below, sharing your thoughts, questions, or insights. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Geoland. Your support is not just appreciated, it's essential. It fuels our quest for truth and ensures that we can continue to bring you content that enlightens, challenges, and inspires. In closing, remember that understanding the global debt crisis is more than an academic pursuit. It's about recognizing the stakes for our economies, our societies, and our future. It's about making informed decisions, both as individuals and as a collective. Here at GeoLand, we're committed to that journey, and we're grateful to have you with us. Thank you for watching, for your support, and for your commitment to seeking the truth. Together, we're not just viewers and creators, we're a community of truth seekers in a world that often prefers the comfort of illusion. Let's continue to challenge the status quo, to question, to learn, and to share the truths that can change our world for the better. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop seeking the truth.